The next poem I'm going to read you is also a slightly mothy poem. It's another friend of mine who's also, like Ben, an amateur naturalist. He actually studied medicine and worked as an anaesthetist at St. George's Hospital for 40 years. But as a boy, his real love was natural history, wildlife, birds, and insects and flowers. He had two very influential school teachers. His name, by the way, is Ronald Green. He's 95. He recently had a birthday party, his 95th birthday party, and I felt compelled to write him a poem to put in his card. And the question was how to condense in a few lines the richness and the generosity of his life. As a school pupil, he had two very influential teachers. One was a young man writing a PhD on the migration of birds, and he used to send Ronnie, aged 8, 9, 10, climbing up very tall trees to fetch nestlings down, to ring them, and then he had to climb up again to put them back in the nest. The other school teacher took groups of boys to the Norfolk Broads, and there he learnt about the swallowtail butterfly and birds. So after a long career of an anaesthetist, when he retired, which was when I first got to know him, into Essex, he threw himself into conservation, and I first met him on a committee with CPR Essex, of which he was chair. And that was really his chief love, and he's been doing that ever since for the last 30 years. It's called An Anaesthetist Spreads His Wings. For 40 years you refined the art of inducing sleep, but in your heart lay dormant a love of insects in flight, of dragonflies, moths, the rustle at night of creatures that creep and forage through the leaves and twisted roots of ancient trees, of meadows where owls on silent wings glide pale as ghosts, where the warbler sings. You retired with Molly to a watermill by the River Colne. You bought a field to protect the hedgerows, sow wild flowers, so children might spend some innocent hours chasing through grass, attending to moths, observing the warp and weft of the cloth of our woven planet. You created a wood and named it for Molly, and lo, it was good. And what was lovely, actually, about that party was that Ronnie said, you must read it to the other guests. So I did. And one after another, the other guests, it sort of opened the door for them all to stand up and say, yes, Ronnie's done so much for me, and he got me off the bottle. And his grandchildren said, yes, and they've helped me with my photography. And it was so lovely. And he was actually, tears were in his eyes. He said, I want to ask you all back to my 100th in 5 years' time.